Boston Celtics get a big-time playoff-type win in Cleveland. They've won 4 in a row. I told you they were fine. Let's talk about it right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Yup. Beam down, be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Back to back, if I say it, it's stamped. Locked on number 19, the best one, the next one. Juice loose in your pool now for the next run. It's the C's, who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT, Karalis, recap the madness. Every game, every practice. Best daily pod, no cap like Brad Beckett. Clutch like Drew to KP, tap in daily. Primetime dapping D White on the sideline. Raining Jace, how it started, raising business, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day, and I got you covered every Monday through Friday, plus bonus podcasts on the weekend like they play this Saturday. So I will be here on a Saturday night into Sunday to talk about that game as well. So make sure you're subscribed. When you subscribe, the show drops directly to your favorite podcasting app automatically. So do that. Get onto the YouTube page. You can watch the show. Get into the comment section there, have a little back and forth with other Celtics fans with me, and let me know what you're thinking about the Boston Celtics beating the Cleveland Cavaliers. I am John Karalis. If you're new to the show, I have been covering the Celtics for about 20 years, doing it now as a beat writer for Boston Sports Journal. So you can find my written stuff there. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Celtics get the win, 112-105. They go up by 20 early. They never trail after the 5:50 mark of the first quarter. It was a little dicey sometimes after that, but they took the big lead. They held on to the lead throughout, and so the basic takeaway right away is, hey, great, perfect, not perfect, but perfect for a regular season game. This is the consistent effort. It was a playoff type feel to the game. Intense. Both teams were bringing it. The defense early on, it was like 6-4 halfway through the first quarter. That was an intense defensive game to start. Some bad luck shooting for both teams, but all in all, it's the type of performance that you want to see from the Boston Celtics. And Kristaps Porzingis said it after the game. He went on a whole long thing. I don't have the exact quote, but to paraphrase him, he said, they're working on bringing the intensity more often, but this is the time of year where the intensity, it's not always going to be there. But for a game like this, they're up for it. And I think that this shows, like, when we have these conversations, when I talk about the Celtics, in terms of, they'll be fine. This isn't the biggest deal in the world. And I can see the comments, on the YouTube page. I can see the comments on Boston Sports Journal. People are like, yeah, but they don't look like a team that's going to win. They don't look like this. They don't look like that. And I keep telling you, this type of thing happens all the time. Most champions have a stretch of the season where it's like, well, they don't look like a team that's going to win a championship. Most teams go through a stretch where it's like, okay, not great. This was not great. They're playing down to the competition. They're not taking this as seriously. When you can knock out every opponent, sometimes you either come out like a little cocky or a little lazy, and you feel like, I'm just going to kind of like loaf my way through this, and I'll just throw the knockout punch later. And sometimes you get knocked out, and it's like, oh, damn, that's not how I wanted it to go. But when the opponent is capable of knocking you out, you're like, oh, okay, this is the Cleveland Cavaliers. This is the top seed. All right, let's go. Let's bring that effort. And they did. So I liked the way they were playing defense. I liked the way they were running things. Even when they weren't hitting shots, I thought the effort was pretty consistent. Yeah, there was a little bit of a slip in the third quarter where they started to get a little stagnant. And I don't think that was an effort thing. I think that was just They just weren't running their stuff the same way. And when they started to defend a little bit better and get the rebounds, they had a little stretches where they had lapses. Like, no team's going to be perfect for 48 minutes. And they had some like lapses where Jared Allen would come in. He had 18 rebounds, 6 of them were offensive rebounds. It was, little pockets of like, okay, and give the Cavs like their due, their credit. The reason why the runs were made is because they're the Cavs. It's because they've got 3 all-stars. Donovan Mitchell is good. Darius Garland is good. Evan Mobley is good. Like, those guys are all good players. Jared Allen, their role players are good. So as much as, people want to say, oh, the Celtics started to go through their same stuff in the fourth quarter, like, maybe a little bit, but also the Cavs being as good as they are puts a little pressure on you. And no team is going to withstand, a run. Like, they're not, no team's going to go against a team as good as the Cavs and just kind of like run wire to wire, like, all the time. It's generally going to look like, every once in a while it happens, but like, we've seen the Cavs make OKC look bad. We've seen OKC make the Cavs look bad. It just happens. It comes and goes. Sometimes it stretches over a game. Sometimes it's quarter to quarter. But my point is, the Cavs put pressure on teams when they're playing well, and they had stretches where they were playing pretty well, and they had their defense like ramped up too, and they went on their runs. So I do not want to make like the fourth quarter or the third quarter where the Celtics gave up 31 and 30 points. I don't want to make it just about, wow, the Celtics didn't do this, and this. It's also hard to stop the Cavs for 48 minutes. And the Celtics had a 28-15 first quarter. The Cavs came out super, super cold. The Celtics took advantage of that. Their defense was really good. Their rebounding was really good in the first quarter. Obviously, when the other team shoots 6 of 26 in the first quarter, there are tons of rebounds for you to go get. And the Celtics, I thought, rebounded well. I was really focused on the Celtics crashing the boards, and they did do that in this game. They ended up with 15 offensive rebounds, 13 second chance points. The Cavs had 16 second chance points, but the point is the Celtics weren't decimated by it. So the Celtics did a good job on the boards. I thought they again, little pockets of not rebounding well, and that's how Jared Allen gets the 18 rebounds. But I thought they generally throughout this game, they rebounded pretty well. They defended pretty well. The effort was there from start to finish. And so it was different guys. Jaylen Brown was the guy in the first quarter, 12 points. For a while there, he alone was outscoring the Cavs. In fact, it was, like I said, the Celtics gave up 15 points in the first quarter. Jaylen had 12. So, it didn't take much. Al Horford at the end of the first quarter was huge, and it's why the Celtics were able to pull off a 13-point lead. But second quarter, it was like more Jayson Tatum. Third quarter, it was Tatum and Porzingis. Fourth quarter, it was Derrick White. So it was different guys, and that's the beauty of the Celtics. That's what the Celtics are. Each quarter can be a different guy's quarter, and when the defense is focused on somebody else, then a new guy like comes, oh, we're going to stop Derrick White. Okay, well, now it's Drew Holiday. And if you're going to stop Holiday, then it's this guy, it's that guy. And so every time the Cavs made their defensive decisions, the Celtics adjusted and went to whomever they needed to go to. Let's talk about Derrick White's fourth, which was huge. Derrick White, as Derrick White goes, so go the Celtics. That and more coming up next. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Are you looking for tickets to your next big event, concert, comedy show, sporting event? Finding the right ticket at the right place can be a headache, but with Game Time picks, it's never been easier. Here's how it works. With Game Time Picks, the app does all the hard work for you. It curates the best deals so you do not have to waste time searching through endless listings. Wasting time is the worst thing. They got Game Time Picks. We've been using it here at my house for a while. It curates the deals to make it super simple to find great tickets at a great price. No more sifting through all of those options. You get a super deal for a prime seat. You get incredible value. You'll feel like you got a steal. And the seat view feature is a game changer because before you even hit buy, you can see what you're going to see when you get there. So it's very reassuring to know what the seat view is going to look like. And the best part is you're covered with Game Time's lowest price guarantee. If you find a better deal somewhere else, they'll refund 110% of the difference. Plus, your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time with easy cancellation options if something comes up. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKED. Locked On NBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out the new Ultimate Celtics newsletter. It's the Locked On Celtics newsletter at LockedOnDaily.com. Go to Locked On Daily. Click on that Locked On Celtics logo. Then you put your email in, and then every Monday through Friday, you get a newsletter delivered right to your inbox. Celtics, NBA, fantasy coverage, links to your favorite Celtics content. If you miss a podcast, read the newsletter because the newsletter will get you caught up and it has links so you can kind of like, oh, yes, maybe I do want to listen to this now. It's almost like a reminder too, but it helps you keep up with maybe what you missed. So go check that out wherever you get your podcast. Derrick White was huge in the fourth. The Cavs are, they choose to double Tatum, and we're seeing a lot of teams blitz Tatum again. I think what teams are trying to do is just dare Derrick White, dare these other guys. I think they're seeing the Celtics 3-point shooting kind of come back down to earth a little bit from last season, and so they are daring the Celtics to beat them. They do not want Jayson Tatum to go off. And so that's making it tough for Tatum to do anything but distribute. And so Tatum is a very willing passer. Tatum will willingly distribute the ball. His fourth quarter, you look at the fourth quarter numbers and you're like, what happened to Jayson Tatum? If you didn't see the game, you're like, wait a second. 1 point in the fourth quarter, 0 of 5 shooting in the fourth quarter, and you just hit a free throw, 1 assist. That's it. And you're like, thankfully, Derrick White was there to bail out Jayson Tatum. But no, I thought Jayson Tatum was very much in control of the game when he was out there. It's just that he got blitzed and he got off the ball, and that opened things up for Derrick White and for others. Porzingis gets a shot. Cornette got one off the pick and roll. I think that was the assist. Derrick had an assist. Jaylen Brown had a couple of assists in that fourth quarter. But Tatum getting blitzed and getting off the ball starts the ball movement. And when the Celtics ball movement is there and Derrick is getting these looks, and look, some of these were deep, but shooting with confidence and getting these clean looks, that's where teams are going to have to make a decision, right? And if you're going to say, all right, well, we dare Derrick White to beat us. Okay, good luck. Good luck with that. We'll dare Drew Holiday to beat us. Okay. I mean, we saw Memphis do it, right? And it was like, oh man, that wasn't fun. But how often is that going to happen? Who are you going to dare to beat you? I think the Celtics are starting to come around and show other teams like, all right, buddy, you can blitz Tatum if you want. He's not going to overreact. He's getting really good at handling those. And he's going to start the ball movement that breaks your defense down. And that's where this all ends for the Celtics, where like if Tatum is getting off the ball and it's breaking down the defense, then what's the next choice for the defense? You're either going to continue and hope it stops, or you're going to have to play the zone, which look, the zone against Philly was, a little bit, they didn't handle it great. There was some zone in this game, and like the Celtics didn't handle it great. That's something that they have to fix. If other teams want to try to play zone against the Celtics in the playoffs, I dare you to do that. I dare you to do that. Because when the Celtics finally get everything fine-tuned, that's going to go away too. So the more fourth quarters, the more quarters that the Celtics face double teams on Tatum and Tatum gets off the ball and this kind of stuff happens, the more down the road teams are going to be like, we got to figure something else out. Zone will be part of their counterattack, but sometimes you just have to play the Celtics straight up and try to switch everything, in which case then you're going to get the Tatum on Garland and good luck. So I think the Celtics are starting to get back on track here. I've been saying all along the Celtics are fine. I've been saying all along that I don't fear the Cleveland Cavaliers. I respect the Cavaliers. I respect what they're doing. I respect the fact that they are the top seed. They've been having a great season. I don't disagree with the 3 All-Stars. I'm not sitting there saying anything about their schedule or anything like that. They went on a massive run to start the season. They are really good. They have earned all of this. But the Celtics have the matchups. The Celtics have what it takes, where it takes to beat the Cavaliers. When I say the Celtics can play the Cavs in a 7-game series with all 7 games in Cleveland, this is what I'm talking about. This is why. Because ultimately, the Celtics went into Cleveland. They gave this consistent effort. Now, I know Cleveland didn't have a Okoro. Cleveland didn't have Dean Wade. Those are important role players, so that should be factored in for sure. I'm not even saying that sarcastically. That should be factored in. Okoro has had some offensive success against the Celtics. He is a defensive option on some of these players. So there's no doubt that maybe there would be different lineups out there with Okoro available, with Dean Wade available. There's different options. So for sure that the next Celtics Cavs matchup will be different. But the Celtics got 7 of 23 shooting from Jayson Tatum, 7 of 20 shooting from Derrick from Kristaps Porzingis. So 14 of 44, 4 of 17 combined from 3. So not the best shooting night from those 2 guys. And they still held a 20-point lead at one point and won by 7 and held off a hard charge in the fourth quarter. The Celtics have the matchups. The Celtics have the motivation. The Celtics are better than the Cavaliers. They just haven't had as good a season yet. So I look at this and I say, yeah, this is what I expect. This is what I think should happen when the Celtics play the Cavs. If they play a 7-game series, these types of games, these types of wins are going to happen 4 times for the Celtics before the Cavs can string 4 of them together. You know what I mean? So even if the Cavs string 3 together, I still think the Celtics can win 4 of these. So it doesn't matter where they play. It doesn't matter on the road. Doesn't matter at home. Celtics are the best road team. Cavs are the best home team. Celtics went into Cleveland and they did the job. They did what it takes. So they are back on track. Let's get back to individual performances when I come back. Jaylen Brown, interesting stuff with Jaylen Brown. Saved it for the end because he didn't play in the last 5+ minutes of this game. So let's talk about that when we come back. Today's show is brought to you by BetterHelp. What are some of your relationship green flags? We often hear about the red flags we should avoid, but what if we focused more on identifying the positive signs in our relationships? Those green flags. If you're not sure what they look like, therapy can help you identify them, actively practice them, and even embody that green flag energy yourself. Whether you're dating, married, or building a friendship, or just working on yourself, therapy can help you form relationships that love you back. Therapy helps you develop healthy boundaries and improves your communication skills. It empowers you to set clear expectations and express your needs in relationships. Therapy provides tools for managing conflict in ways that strengthen your connections rather than break them down. BetterHelp makes it easy by offering online therapy with over 30,000 licensed therapists to choose from. And even if you switch therapists, you can do so at no extra cost. Discover your relationship green flags with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Make sure you're checking out the Locked On NBA podcast. Locked On NBA Game Night covers every game in the association every night, 7 days a week. And then in the afternoons, Locked On NBA debate-style show covering the biggest topics in the league that day. So 2 NBA podcasts on Locked On NBA. So go check that out wherever you got this podcast. Jaylen Brown was incredible in the first quarter. And I think defensively he was pretty good for most of this game. But he did get 5 fouls. I think a couple of them were iffy. The offensive foul on the dunk attempt, I completely disagree with. If you are going to call that an offensive foul, which, okay, you know what? Let's say you do call it an offensive foul. Fine. Prepare yourself for every poster dunk to end up being challenged whenever possible, because every poster dunk ends up being an offensive foul. Every dunker goes in with that offhand out, and then the follow through behind it, like, because you're just trained that way to go up and hold off the defender so you can claim your space and dunk on them. That's just a natural thing. People don't dunk with their hand behind them and go, "Oh, let me just dunk over you." Like, no, you go through the guy. So I disagreed with that call. There was another one. There are a couple of touch ones in there, but that's all right. So he had the 5 fouls. He comes out with about halfway through the fourth quarter, and then the Celtics get going, right? And look, Jaylen had a little bit of a tough stretch there. They were starting to double him. I think it was maybe in the third quarter. They were starting to double him. He did end up with 5 turnovers, which was not great. But overall, look, 16 points, 9 rebounds, 2 offensive rebounds, 6 assists. I thought he did play fairly well until they started double teaming him. And I think he was a little too out of control. Maybe he let the game get the officiating get too into his head. It's something that Jaylen's kind of been talking about. He talked about the last game about just play basketball. And maybe he's still kind of struggling with the just play basketball part of it, because, the 5 fouls, he's not one to get into foul trouble very often, but he does every once in a while. And maybe Joe saw an opportunity where Jaylen was in foul trouble at just the right time. And halfway through the fourth quarter, he picks up that 5th foul. So Joe says, "Hey, sit down. We'll get you a few minutes, and then you can go back in at the end." But Derrick White starts going off, and the Celtics are extending the lead. And at that point, you can just go to Jaylen and be like, "Hey, it's working. We're going to roll with it. Take your few extra minutes. Just enjoy it. We're rolling with this crew. They got it. Fine." I'm sure Jaylen was not happy about it, right? You saw him at the bench. You saw him at the end. He looked like, he was standing there for a while, and he kind of emotionless. And then he sat down while most of the other guys were standing up. Although I think somebody else was sitting down too. Maybe Porzingis was sitting down too. So he wasn't the only one sitting down. I'm not trying to make this like Jaylen is, being petulant or anything like that. I'm not trying to go down that road at all. He might have just been pissed off about the 5th foul. But he wanted to be out there, but it was working, so he doesn't have to be out there. Now, I'll also say this. Joe needs to keep this in the back of his head. Like, all right, I sat Jaylen Brown for the back end of the 4th quarter. Now, it was foul trouble, but also, like, I didn't go back to him at the end of a close game where you would think he would be in the game. There are a couple opportunities in the last 2 minutes to put him back in the game. And Joe has to be like confident in himself to go to Jaylen and be like, it's working, chill, we're good. But also he needs to see if there's an opportunity somewhere else down the line. I'm not saying actively search for it, but if the opportunity presents itself where Jayson gets to sit the last part of a game and things are going okay and Jaylen's the one getting to close this out, maybe you throw him that little bone. Maybe you let him know that, hey, it's not just you. Jayson, this scenario, here's Jayson, and he gets to sit down now too. You just kind of have that in the back of your head. If you can do it and you send him like a little, that little nugget of, hey, it's not just you, then great. But I thought, look, if Jaylen wasn't playing the way he was playing at the beginning, who knows how this game would have gone. The Celtics built an early 20-point lead because Jaylen Brown had, like, at one point it was like 11-7 Jaylen over Cleveland, or something like that. So he was huge early. Like I've said, Tatum didn't have a huge scoring night, although he did have 11 in the 3rd quarter. So that was a big 3rd quarter for him. That was his best quarter, 5 of 7. He and Porzingis, the 3rd quarter, the Cavs make a run, but Tatum and Porzingis hold it off, and this is like a low-key turning point of the game where the Celtics end up winning that quarter by 2 and going into the 4th quarter with a 12-point lead instead of the Cavs making their run and the Celtics unable to kind of get that back. That could have been a 6-point game heading into the 4th, a much different scenario, right? Not that 12 is a big deal. You could be up 20 heading into the 4th and it doesn't matter. But turning it around and winning that quarter was kind of big because the Celtics regained some of that momentum. It was a good shooting quarter for them. Again, Jayson played the whole quarter. Kristaps Porzingis had his one good shooting quarter. Derrick White gets going there. Good contributions off the bench. I got to shout out the Celtics bench that you don't get the Celtics bench outscoring other teams' benches very often, but the Celtics bench outscored the Cavs 29-13. Luke Cornett was a +10, and that was the lowest plus minus on the bench. You had Al and Peyton, +19. Al had 13 points and 10 rebounds. The end of the 1st quarter, that was Al. Jaylen kind of handed the baton to Al, and Al hit a bunch of shots at the end of the 1st quarter. He had a couple of 3-pointers and then a layup where that pushed the lead up to 13. It was a big shot. Like, Al hit some big shots there. Pritchard came in and hit some big shots. Luke Cornett, I thought, played great. 3 rebounds, 3 assists. All of his rebounds were offensive rebounds. A steal. He just ran the pick and roll well with Jayson Tatum. Just knows where to be. He was a good option there. We were talking about him in the podcast yesterday with Tom. Luke continues to play well. And I thought he did great, and he played some really good defense in Evan Mobley. That is so huge. I kind of should have mentioned this earlier, but the defense that they played on Evan Mobley, 3 of 14 shooting, 0 of 4 from 3. They didn't really care about his 3-point shooting. They made him uncomfortable. Mobley is the guy that you need to limit to make this version of the Cavs mortal. The reason why the Cavs are great this season, partly because Darius Garland is having an all-star season, but mostly because Evan Mobley is having an incredible season. And to have him only check in with 7 points, 5 rebounds, 3 of 14 shooting, they did an incredible job making him uncomfortable. Yes, he may have just missed a few shots, but they really defended him really well. So I think that's going to be a focus moving forward, that Donovan Mitchell's going to get his 31 points for him. Darius Garland, 25 points. He's going to get, his points here and there for sure. If you can limit Evan Mobley, now you're doing something defensively. And I thought Luke Cornett did a great job there. So Celtics bench was good. Obviously, Derrick White was huge in the fourth quarter. Drew Holiday, not a great overall offensive game, but a couple of steals and some really good defense. Like this is like, I don't even want to say this was championship level defense because the Celtics can still be better, but this is the type of effort that gives me the utmost confidence in this team. Like, yeah, of course they came into Cleveland and they played well and they won. I expected them to do that. Now, I don't know what's going to happen against Dallas on Thursday. That I can make no guarantees on that. Maybe in for a letdown there. We'll see, but I will be there, and hopefully they'll, be talking about a win after that. But I will still have podcasts all week. It's a Monday through Friday podcast, a bonus podcast Saturday night after they play the Knicks. They're at New York on Saturday night. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast. Watch the show on YouTube. We'll have much more on this tomorrow. I'll rewatch the game and come up with some more stuff to kind of continue this conversation tomorrow with Tom Westerholm. So make sure you are subscribed. Get into the comments section, and then I would love it if you shared the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.